CT Moore, I'm here with David Zülke, the lead developer for the Agavi Framework. We're at Confoo. How are you, David?
I'm good, thanks. Bit of a headache. So we were drinking last night. The speakers dinner was awesome, but this is unrelated, I hope.
You gave a presentation yesterday.
Yes, on the Agavi Framework.
What'd you cover?
Well, basically the framework basics, what's the structure, etc.
The Agavi Framework, what kind of opportunity or advantage does it offer developers?
It's mostly about having a very clean and structured approach to developing. So we don't have scaffolding. We don't have a lot of these, quickly generated admin interfaces. We encourage people, we kind of force people to do that manually. And there's a bunch of things that Agavi does a bit different, like form generation, for instance, or like form handling. In the Agavi framework, it's not tied to a particular form library. Whatever template language you use, it just works. Similarly, we don't ship with our own ORM. We have support for Doctrine and Propel, but we don't force you to use either. And we also don't tell you that your ORM is your model, because that's going to be very nice in the beginning, and it's cool for screencasts where you quickly need results on the Hello World block application that just magically works out of the box with generated forms. But after a while, this is going to seriously hurt your project, because once you need to start customizing these aspects of your application, it all falls apart, in my opinion. And the other thing is that with ORMs in particular, like nowadays we live in a world where we consume so much in the cloud. You're going to build your application, and half a year down the road, you're going to pull your user information from an LDAP repository or from another web service. So all of a sudden, the user's not in the database anymore, but you still need to join it. You still need to have access to it in your models. And that's a problem that Active Record doesn't have an answer to. So we don't encourage people to use Doctrine or Propel or whatever ORM directly as the model in the application. They can if they want to. But we tell them, go the extra mile. It's hard and it's a bit of work up front, but it'll pay off if you implement a pure domain model layer on top of that. In addition to that, Agavi is relatively flexible when it comes to exposing your application on multiple interfaces. So if you have a normal web page, then you can easily add a RESTful interface to it, and then you can add a SOAP interface or a command line interface to your application without having to touch your controllers, without having to touch your models. You only need to adjust the views and possibly register the respective output types and input handlers, etc. But after that, your application can run without any further modifications under a new context, under a new interface that is used to access the application. Like in many frameworks, for instance, after you successfully created a user, you do the HTTP redirect in your controller, which of course is a problem, because when you have a SOAP call, or when you do it on the command line, you can't do an HTTP redirect, right? And this is the kind of shortcut that we're trying to avoid, because they just hinder extensibility and they don't make your application scalable in terms of number of developers and lines of code. And that is the biggest benefit you get with Agavi, is that if you have a well-structured application, and Agavi actually helps you prevent the common mistakes that taking these shortcuts that are not really shortcuts in the long term, then you add a new developer to a project and he'll immediately find his way around, and he uses the one standard approach that is really portable, and he's going to do a new feature or a change the same way that other people will do it. And that is the really important thing that a framework needs to achieve, because developer time is so much more expensive than just buying a couple of new servers, that what you're really looking for is extensibility, clean structures, clean standards, and a framework that helps the development process in maintaining a clean application. I think this is Agavi's strong point, that your software in the long term stays extensible.
David Zülke, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.